2 weeks before our wedding, my fiancée texted, "Honey, I'm pregnant. Thinking of putting my ex's name on the birth certificate. It's more meaningful." Then I canceled the wedding, canceled our apartment viewing, and drove to her ex's house to personally congratulate the future father. I replied, "What great news." His wife opened the door. But before I begin, please like and subscribe to the channel. And we'd love to hear which part of the world are you joining us from. Let us know. Now let's dive into today's story. The paint was cold against Jack Rourke's fingers. He worked the brush in slow, deliberate strokes along the weathered trim of his fishing boat, watching white enamel cover the peeling blue beneath. October had stripped most of the color from northern Michigan, leaving Clearwater Lake gray and restless under a low sky. The water lapped against the hull in a rhythm that had no beginning and no end, just the same patient sound it had made for 10,000 years. Jack had always thought best with his hands occupied. The motion freed his mind. Dip, stroke, pause. Dip, stroke, pause. The cold air burned in his lungs, sharp and clean, carrying the smell of pine needles and wet dockwood. He wore an old canvas jacket with paint stains on both sleeves and work boots that had molded to his feet over a decade of use. 2 weeks until the wedding. 14 days until Mary Whitmore became Mary Rourke, until the life he'd built with careful precision clicked into its final piece. He'd already picked up his suit from the tailor in town. The ring sat in his dresser drawer, wrapped in velvet. The photographer was booked. The minister confirmed. Every detail accounted for, every contingency planned. Jack Rourke didn't believe in leaving things to chance. His phone buzzed in his jacket pocket. He set the brush across the paint can and pulled it out, thumb already swiping to unlock before he registered the preview of Mary's message. Then he read it. The words sat on the screen, bright and impossible. "Honey, I'm pregnant. I've been thinking. I want to put Dylan's name on the birth certificate. It just feels more meaningful." Jack didn't move. His breath condensed in the cold air, small clouds that disappeared as quickly as they formed. Somewhere across the lake, a loon called out, lonely and distant. The boat rocked gently beneath him. Dylan Pike, her ex-boyfriend from college. The one she'd dated for 2 years before they broke up amicably 5 years ago. The one she mentioned maybe twice in 4 years together. Always in that tone people use when discussing something completely finished and filed away. Ancient history, she'd called him once. Dead and buried. Jack read the message again. Then a third time. He looked for the joke, the autocorrect error, the missing context that would make the words rearrange themselves into something that made sense. His thumb hovered over the screen. The paint on his fingers had started to dry. He wiped his hands on the rag, tucked into his belt, each finger methodical and thorough. Then he sat down on the dock, boots hanging over the edge just above the waterline. The wood was damp and cold through his jeans. He could hear his own heartbeat, steady and unchanged. Not shocked, not confused. Those would come later, maybe, when his mind caught up to what his eyes had seen. Right now, he felt something else, something quieter, like watching storm clouds gather on the horizon and knowing exactly what was coming. He typed back with his clean thumb, "What great news." Then he held down the power button until the screen went black. The lake kept moving. The boat kept rocking. Jack sat on the dock and watched the water, and for the first time in 4 years, he let himself see Mary Whitmore clearly. Jack Rourke grew up in a single-wide trailer 3 miles outside Iron Ridge, Michigan, population 847. The trailer sat on cinder blocks in a clearing surrounded by white pine and scrub oak, connected to the county road by a driveway that turned to mud every spring. His father, Tom Rourke, worked at the lumber mill until his back gave out when Jack was 14. After that, he worked odd jobs, whatever kept food on the table and the lights on. His mother left when Jack was 6. He remembered her as a series of disconnected images. Red nail polish, the smell of cigarettes and drugstore perfume, a suitcase by the door. She'd said she was going to stay with her sister in Grand Rapids for a while. Jack had asked when she'd be back. "Soon, baby," she'd said. She never came back at all. Tom Rourke raised his son with one unshakable rule: never react first. Let the other person show their hand. Let them make the mistake. Patience wasn't weakness. It was power. "You got a temper in you, Jack," his father had told him once, after a fight at school when Jack was 12. "I can see it. That's fine. We all got fire. But the man who swings first is the man everyone remembers. The man who swings second? He's the one they call reasonable. Self-defense. You understand?" Jack had understood. He watched his father die slow over 3 years. Lung cancer. The kind that takes pieces of you until there's nothing left worth taking. Tom Rourke spent his last months in that same trailer, in a hospital bed they'd rented, refusing to go to hospice because he said he wanted to die in his own place, on his own terms. "Don't let people push you around," Tom said near the end, voice thin and rasping. "But don't be the fool who shows all his cards neither. You play chess, not checkers. You hear me?" "I hear you," Jack had said. His father died on a Tuesday morning in February. Jack was 22. He'd buried him in the Iron Ridge Cemetery under a simple granite marker, paid for in cash. Then he'd sold the trailer, paid off his father's debts, and taken what was left to start over. He'd built his life the way his father had taught him, deliberately, patiently, with a long view that most people couldn't see. Jack started a logistics business with 2 delivery vans and a commitment to show up on time, every time. Within 3 years, he had 8 vehicles and contracts with half the businesses in 3 counties. He paid his employees above market rate and expected precision in return. He never borrowed money, never missed a payment, never made promises he couldn't keep. People called him reliable, steady, safe. Mary Whitmore had called him safe too, smiling when she said it, like it was the highest compliment she could give. "You make me feel secure," she'd told him on their 6-month anniversary, curled against his chest in his apartment. Like nothing bad could ever happen. Jack had kissed the top of her head and said nothing, because even then, some part of him had known. Safety was never free. Someone always paid the cost. He just hadn't known it would be her. Jack didn't go back to his apartment that night. He sat in his truck in the marina parking lot as the sun went down, turning the lake from gray to black. The temperature dropped. His breath fogged the windshield. He turned on the engine periodically to keep warm, then shut it off again to think in the quiet. He pulled up Mary's message one more time, studying it with the same attention he'd give a contract with fine print. Every word mattered. Every choice revealed something. "Honey, I'm pregnant!" Exclamation point. Excitement. Joy. Sharing good news with her fiancé. "I've been thinking, I want to put Dylan's name on the birth certificate." Ellipsis. Hesitation. Not uncertainty, but careful phrasing. Testing the waters. Seeing how he'd react. It just feels more meaningful. The knife slipped between the ribs. Not Dylan's child. His child. But Dylan's name would be better. More meaningful. What did that make Jack? The safe choice. The backup plan. The man who'd pay the bills while she built a life with someone else's legacy. Jack locked his phone and set it in the cup holder. Then he started making calls. The wedding venue was a restored barn 20 minutes outside Traverse City. They'd put down a deposit 9 months ago. Jack had the contract saved in his email. He pulled it up, found a venue owner's cell number, and dialed. The phone rang 4 times before a woman answered. "Riverside Barn Events. This is Patricia." "Patricia, this is Jack Rourke. I have a booking with you for November 6th. "Oh, yes. The Rourke-Whitmore wedding. Everything's on track. We're so excited to." "I need to cancel," Jack said. His voice was calm, even, the voice he used when negotiating contracts. Silence on the other end. Then, "Cancel? The wedding is in 2 weeks, Mr. Rourke. You understand we can't refund the deposit at this point." "I understand. Keep the deposit. I just need the date released." Another pause. "Is everything all right?" "Everything's fine," Jack said. "It's just not happening. Can you email me a cancellation confirmation?" "Of course. I'm sorry to hear. Thank you, Patricia." He ended the call before she could finish. Next was the apartment. They'd applied for a 2-bedroom in a new complex near the waterfront, approved pending final signatures. The viewing appointment was scheduled for tomorrow morning at 10. Mary had already picked out paint colors for the nursery. She said she wanted eventually. Jack called the property management company's after-hours line and left a message withdrawing the application. Professional. Polite. No explanation necessary. Then he logged into the shared bank account they'd opened 6 months ago for wedding expenses and household savings. Mary had contributed some. Jack had contributed more. He calculated exactly what belonged to him, including interest, and initiated a transfer to his personal account. Not a dollar more, not a dollar less. The money hit his account in 90 seconds. He sat in his truck for another hour, working through the list methodically. Caterer, florist, DJ, photographer. Each cancellation was the same. Calm voice, no explanation, no discussion. Some asked questions. Some expressed sympathy. Jack thanked them all and moved on. By midnight, the wedding had been erased. 14 days of preparation undone in 14 phone calls. Jack drove home. His apartment was cold and dark. He didn't turn on the lights. Just walked through the rooms he'd lived in for 6 years, seeing them differently now. The couch Mary had insisted they buy, even though Jack's old one was perfectly fine. The framed photographs on the wall, mostly her idea. The kitchen table where they'd eaten dinner 1,000 times, talking about their days, making plans. How much of it had been real? Jack went to his closet and pulled down a cardboard box from the top shelf. Inside were gifts he'd bought Mary over 4 years. Birthday presents, Christmas presents, little things he'd picked up because they made him think of her. A necklace with a small silver compass. A first edition of her favorite novel. A leather journal she'd never used. Earrings. A scarf. A photograph he'd had professionally framed of the two of them at the lake. He laid everything out on the bed and took pictures with his phone, each item from multiple angles. Then he packed them back carefully, labeling the box with a black marker. Mary Whitmore, return items. October 2024. He carried it to his storage unit in the garage and placed it on a shelf, organized and accounted for. Her things, the clothes in his closet, the toiletries in his bathroom, the books on his nightstand, he left untouched. Evidence. Or maybe just courtesy. He hadn't decided yet. Before bed, Jack sat at his kitchen table and opened his laptop. He typed Dillon Pike Lake, Orion, Michigan, into the search bar and hit enter. The results came back in seconds. Public records. Social media. A property listing from 3 years ago. Dillon Pike lived at 428 Elmwood Drive in Lake Orion, a suburb outside Detroit. The house was small and blue with white trim, visible on street view. A mailbox at the curb. A single-car garage. Trees in the front yard. Jack memorized the address. Then he closed the laptop and went to bed. He slept soundly. No dreams. No restlessness. Just the deep, quiet sleep of a man who'd finally stopped pretending. Jack woke at 6, made coffee, and packed a bag. The drive from northern Michigan to Lake Orion was 4.5 hours south and east, cutting through Grayling and past Houghton Lake before hitting the sprawl of the Detroit metro area. He filled a thermos, grabbed a protein bar from the cupboard, and locked the apartment behind him. The morning was overcast and damp. Rain had come through overnight, leaving the roads slick and the air smelling like wet pavement and fallen leaves. Jack drove with the radio off, hands at 10 and 2, mind working through variables. Mary would notice the account first. She checked it compulsively, always worried about money, even though Jack had never given her reason to worry. She'd log in this morning, see the balance, and know. She'd call. He wouldn't answer. She'd panic, maybe, or she'd get angry. Either way, she'd eventually understand that something had shifted. Good. Let her feel it. Jack merged onto I-75 South and settled into the drive. The memories came in fragments, uninvited but not unwelcome. Jack let them surface, examining each one with the detachment of a man reviewing evidence. Mary crying in his kitchen 6 months ago, mascara running down her face. "You don't understand," she'd said. "I need you to be home more. I feel like I'm doing everything alone." Jack had been working a lot. A new client, a tight deadline. 60-hour weeks for a month to land a contract. But he'd done it for them. For the future they were building. "I'm building something here," he'd told her. "For us. So we don't have to struggle." "I don't care about struggling," Mary had said. "I care about you being here." He'd cut back his hours after that. Delegated more. Made it home for dinner. Date nights on Fridays. The whole performance. And Mary had smiled again, squeezed his hand, told him she knew he loved her. Now, driving south through rain-speckled windshield, Jack wondered if she'd been testing him even then. seeing how much he'd bend, how much he'd sacrifice. Another memory, Mary at a restaurant 3 years ago, phone buzzing on the table. She'd glanced at it, flipped it face down, and kept talking. Jack had noticed. He always noticed, but he hadn't said anything. Because in that moment, he'd chosen trust. Mistake. How many other moments had he missed? How many little signs had he smoothed over because it was easier than asking hard questions? Jack's hands tightened on the steering wheel. Then he consciously relaxed them, finger by finger. Control. That was the difference between reaction and strategy. His father had taught him that. The rain picked up around Grayling. Jack turned on the wipers, watching them sweep across the glass in steady rhythm. Swipe, pause. Swipe, pause. He stopped for gas outside West Branch, filling the tank while semi-trucks rumbled past on the highway. The gas station clerk was a kid, maybe 19, with acne and a name tag that said Tyler. He barely looked up when Jack paid. Heading to Detroit? Tyler asked, making conversation. Lake Orion, Jack said. Got family there? Something like that. Jack took his receipt and walked back to his truck. The sky had turned darker. More rain coming. He checked his phone. No calls. No messages. Mary would be waking up soon. She'd see the account. Then the calls would start. He put the phone on silent and kept driving. Lake Orion revealed itself gradually as Jack exited the highway. First came the big box stores and chain restaurants, the generic sprawl that ringed every mid-sized town. Then older neighborhoods, tree-lined streets with houses from the 50s and 60s, front lawns turning brown with the season. The rain had stopped, leaving everything slick and shining. Jack followed his GPS to Elmwood Drive. It was a quiet street, modest homes with attached garages and small yards. Leaves clogged the gutters. A few houses still had Halloween decorations up, plastic skeletons, and fake cobwebs sagging in the damp. Number 428 was halfway down the block on the left. Blue siding, white trim, just like the pictures. A small porch with 2 white chairs. A station wagon in the driveway, back end loaded with what looked like moving boxes or storage bins. The yard was neat, but lived in, the kind of place where actual people existed rather than just staging a life for social media. Jack parked across the street, 3 houses down. He sat in his truck and watched. No movement inside that he could see. The curtains in the front window were open, revealing a living room with a couch and bookshelves. Normal. Unremarkable. What had he expected? Some obvious sign of betrayal? A scarlet letter painted on the door? Jack got out of the truck and walked up the sidewalk. His boots sounded loud on the wet pavement. A dog barked somewhere nearby. The air smelled like wood smoke and someone's dryer exhaust. He climbed the 3 steps to the porch and knocked. 2 solid raps, neither aggressive nor tentative. Footsteps inside. A shadow moved behind the frosted glass panel beside the door. A lock clicked. The door opened. The woman standing there was not what Jack had pictured. She was in her early 30s, athletic build, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt with paint stains on one sleeve. Her dark hair was pulled back in a practical ponytail. She had strong features, direct eyes, and the no-nonsense posture of someone who'd dealt with unexpected visitors before. A baby monitor was clipped to her belt, the small screen showing a dark room and a sleeping child. She looked Jack up and down, quick assessment, then spoke. This isn't Dylan's office. He works at Northville Engineering, 20 minutes west. If you need to reach him professionally, you can call their main line. Her tone was flat, efficient, the voice of someone accustomed to redirecting people who showed up at the wrong address. Jack smiled politely, just friendly enough. I'm not here for business. I came to congratulate him. On the baby. The woman's face didn't change immediately, but something shifted behind her eyes. A calculation, a recognition. I'm Hollis Pike, she said. Her voice had gone colder, more careful. And you're talking nonsense. She stepped aside, pulling the door wider. Come in. The living room was warm and smelled like coffee and baby powder. Toys were scattered across the carpet near the couch. Plastic blocks, a stuffed elephant, a picture book left open. Family photos covered one wall. Dylan Pike appeared in most of them, a tall man with glasses and a runner's build, holding a toddler, standing next to Hollis at what looked like a wedding, crouching beside a Christmas tree. Hollis didn't offer Jack a seat. She walked to the kitchen, visible through an open archway, and poured coffee into a plain white mug. Black. No sugar. She didn't pour a second cup. She came back and stood near the fireplace, holding the mug in both hands. "Who are you?" she asked. "Jack Rourke," he said. "I was supposed to marry Mary Whitmore in 2 weeks." "Was," Hollis repeated. She sipped her coffee, watching him over the rim. Past tense. "That's right. And you drove 4 hours to my house because your husband is supposedly the father of her child," Jack said. "Or that's what she told me yesterday. She wants his name on the birth certificate. Says it feels more meaningful." Hollis set her coffee mug down on the mantel. She crossed her arms. "Show me the message." Jack pulled out his phone, navigated to the text, and held it out. Hollis took the phone and read, her expression unreadable. Then she read it again. She handed the phone back. "My husband hasn't seen Mary Whitmore in over 5 years," Hollis said, each word precise and controlled. "She messaged him last month, out of nowhere, talking about fate and second chances and wondering if he ever thought about what might have been. What did he do? Showed me the messages immediately. Blocked her number. We thought that was the end of it." Hollis walked to a desk in the corner and opened a drawer. She pulled out her own phone, unlocked it, and scrolled through screenshots. Then she handed it to Jack. The messages were there. Mary's number, though Jack recognized it immediately even without the contact name. Sent at odd hours. Long paragraphs about destiny and regret. Questions about Dylan's life now, his marriage, whether he was happy. And then, near the end, "I might need help soon. Financial help, just in case." Jack scrolled through them all. His face showed nothing. Inside, something was crystallizing, taking shape. "When did these stop?" he asked. 3 weeks ago, right after Dylan blocked her." Jack handed the phone back. "She told me the child is his." Hollis laughed. It was a short, sharp sound, completely devoid of humor. "That's impossible." "Why?" "Dylan had a vasectomy after our first kid. Our daughter is too. He can't get anyone pregnant. It's medically impossible." The room was very quiet. Somewhere in the house, a furnace kicked on, warm air flowing through the vents. Jack sat down on the couch without asking permission. His legs suddenly felt heavy. Not relief. Not yet. But something close to it. Something like clarity. Hollis remained standing. "You didn't know she was lying, did you? You came here to confront Dylan." "I came here to understand," Jack said. "And now you do." Hollis picked up her coffee again. She wanted his name for leverage. Or maybe just attention. "I was waiting to see who else she'd destroy before I did anything." Jack looked up at her. "You were waiting?" "People like Mary Whitmore don't stop at one victim," Hollis said. "I've been documenting everything. Screenshots, timestamps, witness statements from Dylan. I was building a case in case we needed a restraining order." "Smart. Necessary." She studied him. "You're not angry?" "No," Jack said. "I'm not. Most men would be. Coming here, finding out their fiancé lied about a pregnancy. About paternity. Most men would lose it. I'm not most men." Hollis sat down in the chair across from him. "No," she said slowly. "I can see that. What are you going to do?" Jack stood. He looked around the room one more time. The family photos, the toys, the normal life these people had built. Mary had tried to blow it all up for what? Money? Attention? Some fantasy about reclaiming a past that never existed? "I'm going to finish it," Jack said. Hollis studied his face. "You need help?" "No." Jack walked toward the door, then paused. "But I appreciate the information. And the coffee, even though you didn't offer me any." I got a real smile. Small but genuine. "You walked into a stranger's house, making accusations about my husband. You're lucky I didn't throw you out." "Fair enough." Jack opened the door, stepped onto the porch, then turned back. "One more thing," he said. "Is Mary actually pregnant?" Hollis's smile faded. "I have no idea. Do you?" "I'm about to find out." Jack sat in his truck across the street and pulled up his phone. He'd been ignoring it for 6 hours. Now he opened the messages. 17 texts from Mary. 4 voicemails. 3 missed calls from her mother. He didn't read any of them. Instead, he opened his browser and searched for women's health clinics in the Traverse City area. Found one that offered walk-in pregnancy testing. Made a mental note of the address. Then he opened his banking app and checked the shared account one more time. Mary had attempted 3 transfers in the last 4 hours, each one blocked because the account was now frozen. She'd also tried calling the bank. Good. Let her scramble. Jack started the engine and began the long drive north. He had planning to do, details to arrange, timing to perfect. His father had been right. You play chess, not checkers. And Mary Whitmore had just moved her queen into check without realizing the board had changed. The drive back took longer. Jack stopped at a rest area outside Saginaw and sat at a picnic table in the dark, cold wind cutting through his jacket. He needed to think, to plan every step with the precision of a surgical strike. Mary had lied. That much was obvious. The question was how far the lie extended and what she hoped to gain. Money? Security? Some twisted sense of control? It didn't matter. What mattered was exposing the truth in a way that left no room for manipulation or false sympathy. Jack pulled out his phone and started making notes. A timeline. Evidence needed. Actions required. He worked methodically, the same way he approached business problems. Define the objective. Identify the obstacles. Execute the solution. By the time he got back in his truck, he had a plan. Home was dark when Jack arrived after midnight. He went straight to his desk and opened his laptop, pulling up Mary's medical records from her insurance portal. They'd shared insurance information when planning the wedding. She'd given him access to help coordinate coverage. Another mistake on her part. Jack scrolled through her recent claims. Doctor visits, routine checkups, a dental cleaning in September. Nothing about pregnancy tests. No OB/GYN appointments. No prenatal vitamins prescribed. He took screenshots of everything. Then he did something Mary would never expect. He called the women's health clinic he'd researched earlier and scheduled an appointment for the next morning, first thing. Used his own insurance. Paid out of pocket for a comprehensive pregnancy test, the kind with documented results. This is for my fiancée, he told the receptionist. She's been feeling unwell. I want to surprise her with peace of mind. That's so sweet, the woman said. We'll have the results within 2 hours. Perfect. Jack hung up. Then he composed a text to Mary, the first communication since yesterday's message. Simple. Strategic. I want to support you through this. Let's get you properly tested tomorrow. I made an appointment at the women's clinic on Maple Street, 9 a.m. I'll come with you. He hit send. Waited. The reply came in seconds. Jack, thank you. I've been so worried about telling you. I love you. He set the phone down and stared at it. She was still playing the game. Still thinking she could manipulate him with sentiment and manufactured vulnerability. Tomorrow, she'd learn otherwise. The clinic was in a single-story brick building between a pharmacy and a dental office. Jack arrived at 8:45 and parked near the entrance. Mary's car pulled in 5 minutes later. She got out wearing a cream-colored sweater and jeans, hair pulled back, makeup carefully applied to make her look tired but hopeful. Performance art. She walked to his truck, and Jack climbed out to meet her. Thank you for doing this, Mary said. She reached for his hand. Her fingers were cold. I know the timing is complicated with the wedding and everything, but let's just get the test done, Jack said. He didn't pull his hand away, but he didn't squeeze back either. They walked inside together. The clinic was quiet and clinical, all beige walls and medical posters about women's health. A receptionist greeted them with a professional smile. Jack gave his name. Mary looked confused. I already have an appointment, she said. I made this one, Jack explained. I wanted to make sure we used a facility with certified lab results. For the insurance. Mary hesitated, just for a second, then nodded. Of course. That makes sense. The receptionist handed her paperwork. Mary filled it out, Jack watching over her shoulder. Every answer, every checkbox. When she got to the section about previous pregnancies and medical history, she checked no previous pregnancies. Jack took a photo of the form with his phone while Mary wasn't looking. A nurse called her back 15 minutes later. Just the patient for now, the nurse said when Jack stood to follow. I'll be here, Jack said. Mary disappeared behind the door. Jack sat in the waiting room, hands folded, face neutral. An older woman across from him was knitting. A young couple whispered nervously in the corner. The TV on the wall played morning news on mute. 45 minutes later, Mary emerged. She looked pale. They'll call with results this afternoon, she said. Good, Jack said. Want to get lunch while we wait? She nodded, not meeting his eyes. They went to a diner on the edge of town. Ordered food neither of them wanted. Made small talk about nothing important. Mary kept checking her phone. Jack ate his burger methodically, watching her unravel piece by piece. His phone rang at 1:30. The clinic. Mr. Rourke? We have your results. And negative. Not pregnant. Would you like us to email you a copy of the lab report? Yes, please. Jack hung up, looked across the table. Mary was staring at her water glass. That was the clinic, he said. She looked up sharply. What did they say? They'll email the results. Should be any minute. His phone chimed. The email arrived. Jack opened it, turned his screen toward Mary without a word. Patient, Mary Whitmore. Test result, negative. Not pregnant. HCG levels, 5 mio/ml. Mary's face went white, then red. Her mouth opened, but no sound came out. You lied, Jack said quietly. You're not pregnant. You never were. Jack, don't. He held up one hand. Just don't. They sat in silence for 30 seconds. The diner hummed around them. Dishes clattering, coffee brewing, other people's conversations bleeding together into white noise. Finally, Mary found her voice. I wanted to be. I thought if I told you I was, then we could start trying, and then it would be true, and you wanted Dylan Pike's name on the birth certificate. She flinched. That was stupid. I wasn't thinking. He was my first love, and I thought. You thought you could have both, Jack said. Me, as the stable provider. Him, as the romantic fantasy. Maybe his name on the paperwork, because it sounded better than mine. More meaningful. That's not. It's exactly what you said, Mary. Jack pulled up the original text. Read it aloud. I want to put Dylan's name on the birth certificate. It just feels more meaningful. He set the phone down. Those are your words. Tears ran down her face. Real ones, probably. But Jack felt nothing. I made a mistake, she whispered. You made a choice. He stood, pulled out his wallet, and dropped cash on the table. Enough for both meals and a generous tip. The wedding is canceled, he said. The venue, the caterer, the photographer. All of it. I took my money out of our shared account. Your things are still in my apartment. You can pick them up this weekend. I won't be there. Jack, please. We're done, Mary. He walked out of the diner and didn't look back. 3 days passed. Jack went to work, ran his routes, managed his business with the same efficiency he always had. He didn't drink, didn't rage, didn't do anything dramatic or reckless. He just executed the plan. On day 4, Mary showed up at his workshop. The workshop was a converted garage on the outskirts of town where Jack kept his trucks and equipment. He was doing inventory when she burst through the door, face flushed, breathing hard. You embarrassed me, she said. No preamble. Pure anger. Dylan's wife called me. Said you showed up at their house making accusations. Do you have any idea what you've done? Jack set down his clipboard. Yes. You had no right. I had every right. You lied about being pregnant. You lied about Dylan being the father. I went looking for the truth. I found it. You humiliated me. You humiliated yourself. Mary's hands were shaking. You don't understand. I was confused. I made mistakes. But we can fix this. We can. Jack walked to his desk and opened a drawer. Pulled out a manila folder. Set on the counter between them. What you didn't know, he said evenly, is that I already knew you weren't pregnant. Mary froze. Jack opened the folder. Inside was the clinic paperwork from their visit, time-stamped and dated. And beneath it, another document. A printed lab receipt, dated 2 weeks earlier, before her text message, before any of this started. Patient, Mary Whitmore. Test result, negative. Not pregnant. Mary stared at it. Her mouth opened and closed. I paid for the test, Jack continued, voice level and cold. 2 weeks before you sent that text. You went to the clinic for a different reason, remember? You thought you had a UTI. They ran a pregnancy test as standard procedure. You signed a consent form, but you never read the actual results. They mailed them to my address because that's what's on your insurance. I opened them. He watched her process it. Watched the realization spread across her face. You knew, she whispered. I knew you weren't pregnant. I didn't know you'd lie about it, or that you'd try to pin it on Dylan Pike, or that you'd use our wedding as cover for whatever game you were playing. You tricked me. No, Jack said. You underestimated me. That was the moment. The precise second when Mary Whitmore realized she'd never been in control. That every move she'd made, every lie she'd told, had been transparent from the beginning. You should have just been honest, Jack said. If you wanted Dylan, you could have ended things cleanly. If you were having doubts, we could have postponed the wedding. I'm a reasonable man, Mary. I would have listened. Would you? Her voice was bitter now. Defensive. Or would you have done exactly what you're doing now? Calculated everything. Planned your revenge. Made me look like a fool. This isn't revenge, Jack said. This is consequence. He picked up his phone, showed her a series of screenshots. Mary's text to Dylan Pike, his wife's responses, the conversation at their house, the timeline of lies, the pregnancy test results. All of it documented, organized, and saved. I forwarded these to your parents this morning, Jack said, and to your employer, and to Hollis Pike, so she has everything she needs if you try to contact her husband again. Mary's face went ashen. You didn't. I did. I wanted to make sure everyone who matters to you knows exactly who you are. You bastard. Probably. Jack closed the folder. But I'm an honest bastard, which is more than you can say. Mary tried to speak. Couldn't. Tried again. I hate you. You're allowed to. I'll tell people that you, what? That I documented your lies? That I canceled a wedding after you lied about being pregnant with another man's child? Go ahead. Tell whoever you want. The truth is already out there. She stood there for another moment, shaking, tears streaming down her face. Then she turned and ran out of the workshop. Jack watched her go. Then he went back to his inventory like nothing had happened. The next week was chaos, but it was chaos Jack had prepared for. Mary tried calling. He blocked her number. She showed up at his apartment. He wasn't there. She sent emails. He filtered them to spam. Her mother called, furious. Jack let it go to voicemail. Her father sent a text asking for a man-to-man conversation. Jack deleted it. The wedding cancellation went public. People asked questions. Jack answered simply. We realized we weren't compatible. When they pressed, he said nothing more. Didn't defend himself. Didn't attack Mary. Just maintained silence and let the documented truth speak for itself. Some people took Mary's side. Called Jack cold. Heartless. Said he should have been more understanding. Jack didn't care. Others, the ones who mattered, saw through it. His employees. His real friends. The people who knew him well enough to know he wouldn't cancel a wedding 2 weeks out unless something fundamental had broken. Hollis Pike sent one text. She won't bother us again. Thank you for handling it cleanly. Jack didn't respond. He'd given her what she needed. That was enough. Dylan Pike's name never came up again. November 6th arrived, the day that should have been his wedding. Jack woke early, made coffee, and drove to Clearwater Lake. The morning was cold and clear, frost covering the dock, the kind of sharp autumn day that burns your lungs and makes everything look like it's been drawn with precise lines. His boat was still there, paint job finished, trim clean and white. He'd completed it the week after everything fell apart. Methodical, focused, using his hands to quiet his mind. Jack untied the ropes and pushed off from the dock, engine rumbling to life. The lake was glass smooth, reflecting the sky perfectly. He navigated to the center, cut the engine, and just drifted. No phone, no plans, no obligations. Just water and sky and the knowledge that he'd done exactly what needed to be done. Some people confuse kindness with weakness. Mary had been one of them. She thought Jack's patience meant he wouldn't act, that his calm demeanor meant he didn't see, that his willingness to compromise meant he could be manipulated. She'd learned otherwise, and now she was someone else's problem, somewhere else, living with the consequences of her choices. Jack sat in his boat and felt nothing but peace. Not triumph, not vindication, just the quiet satisfaction of a man who'd played his hand perfectly and walked away clean. The wind picked up, rippling the water. Jack started the engine again and turned toward home. He built something new, something better, something that didn't require lies or manipulation or pretending to be someone he wasn't. But first, he'd just exist here for a while, on the lake, in the silence, untouched by regret. The future was quiet again, and Jack Rourke had always preferred the quiet.